actually be able to cover all these in an hour or so. Okay, so so welcome to this session. If are you able to sort out how to do the recording before I start speaking too much Oyinbo? Eh? If allow shit, my network has not messed up.
Oh, you're not talking. We can hear you. You're not talking.
Okay, so that means it's most likely Ife's network. Oh, Ife's gone. Okay, no problem. So that means we'll not be recording this session. So it's okay. So this session is titled Web Development, the Big Picture. My name is Aremu Smog, and here's this how this session is going to go. I will tell you a little bit about myself, then we'll go into the whole web development thing, the things behind it. So in between the session, there will be a break where you'll get to ask questions with respect to the things you've learned so far. Then also, since we are not so much on this call, what I like to do in times like this is have everybody actually unmute their mic and actually tell me one or two things they've learned so far in the session. So after question and answer, or sorry, can that person mute his or her mic? So after that session, after that question and answer session, they'll then go on to the second phase of the session where I talk through the other things I have in mind. Then there will also be opportunities for you to ask questions at the end of the session. Somebody's mic is on. Can the person turn off their mic?
I think we should refer.
Okay. Please turn off your mic. Okay, so my name is Aremu Oluwadamila. You can call me Aremu Small. You can call me Small. You can call me Aremu. But if you're in a very good mood, you can actually call me Small Daddy. Yeah, that's if you're in a very good mood. You can call me Small Daddy. I call myself. You can call me Small Daddy. Small Daddy. Did you get that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I call myself an ex-designer. I'm currently a full-stack developer, and I'm turning map design interfaces into websites at Fort Canvas, and I also share tips and stories from web development to web posts. So the reason I call myself an ex-designer is I actually designed actively for about 5 years. That is doing flyers, logos, roll-up banners, you know the drill and all of those things. But earlier this year, so beyond design, I could also develop websites. And earlier this year, I had to do an analysis of which one was making me more money and giving me lesser stress. Okay, so what I actually shared, it was a function of which one was making me more money. And I discovered that it was actually web development. And that's not because design does not, cannot get people money. But it was just a function of the kind of customer base that I have. They wanted website and design. And I discovered that it was easier for me to convince somebody to part 80,000 naira for a website than to convince them to pay 50,000 naira for a brand identity design. So, considering all of that, I decided to go into web development. Sorry, somebody is eating on this call. Who is that? Ife, are you eating on this call? Mute your mic. Is web development the big picture, not food development the big picture?
Okay, sorry, Small. Please, I think you can just move it from that side.
Okay, so let me see if I can mute him. Okay.
Yeah, done.
Oh, fantastic! Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. So that's a little bit about myself. So who is this talk for? This talk is actually for total noobs, that is people who have no idea about web development, as I would not be going too deep into the whole, into the whole world of web development, because this is supposed to be a big picture. This is supposed to show you what things look like, not really this is how things are going to be. And this talk is also for designers, because I understand that most of the people that are on this call are either designers, aspiring designers, and anyone who is interested in switching careers into web development. So we'll get into it now. Okay, maybe I should talk a little bit about this cover and how I came about it. So this is a picture of me, another picture of me, another picture of me. Just kind of showing the whole process of what it takes to be a web developer. Sometimes it's just beyond you. That's just it. It's just beyond you. You just have to give it process. And so all these so each the colors per se do not really fit your what do you call it, your position or whatever level you are in web development, but it just shows that there's a process and you just have to keep going. And the reason this guy is off the screen is there is no limit to how you can grow when you say you want to pursue what do you call it, a career in web development. So now we're getting started. So websites versus websites sounds crazy, right? Okay, so aside the fact that one is in bold formatting and another one is in light print, here are the major differences between a website and a website, and I'll be showing the difference using two case studies. And here's the first case study. Oh, so this is the first case study. This is Dear Designer Mentorship. You can check out the website at mentorship.deardesigner.xyz. I don't know if you can see the screen, but this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 4 pages website. It took me just 6 hours to do this website. Just 6 hours. This I call a website, the one without the bold formatting. Now, if you go to tiantiafoods.com, tiantiafoods.com is a 3-page website. You have the home page, you have about us, and the page where you will order your food. And this website took 6 good months to build. And in fact, before this session, I still had to make some commits to the repository and push the updates live and what have you. So, so is there a difference between a website and a website now? I'm sure you'd agree with me. Why would one take 6 hours, another one take 6 months to build? And they all seem to have the same number of pages, they all seem to be doing the same thing. What's the difference between the two? So you will get to know that now. So whether you are a web developer, or as long as you're a human being and you're in the 21st century and you're in 2020, probably attending this session, I think these are the basic web terms you should know. First one is domain. And the domain of a website simply refers to the name of the website. So something like fortcanvas.co, webbuzz.com.ng, google.com, that's the domain name of that particular website. The next thing is hosting. And hosting simply refers to where you put your files, your images, etc. So let's say, for example, you go to fortcanvas.co, for example, you'll see case studies on that website. And those case studies have images, videos, text, amongst other things. Those assets, so to speak, are sitting somewhere. Where are they sitting? They are sitting on somebody's server. So the server is allowing you to put your files here at a fee. And it's just like you're having friends over at your house. What would you say? You say you are hosting those people. So a non-technical or technical definition I put here is that your files, images stays on the server, that is host. The process is referred to as hosting. So it's a continuous process because the website continually has to be on the the website continually has to be on that server for you to have access to it. The next thing is front end. So the front end refers to the .com. You see input boxes. You can type in your name, your date of birth, amongst other things. You press a button, you see this rolling stuff, and you click. You see this. You see a rolling or a loader, and you're able to click on it and all of those things. That's the front end of the website. A more technical term is the client side. That is you as a client. Everything you can interact with on the website. The next thing I think you should know is backend. And just like the name says, the backend refers to everything that happens behind the scene. Say, for example, you go on Facebook and you see that your aunt has given birth in the US. You see an image of the lovely baby boy. That image is stored somewhere on somebody's server. Information about that image is stored in the database. The process or the technology that works behind the scene to get that image and other information around it is the backend. Another really important term I think you should know in the 21st century or 2020 about web development is content management system. And this is a definition I actually put on Google. I even forgot to attribute them. it says a content management system is a software application that can be used to manage the creation and publication of digital content. And the most popular example you probably know is blogging or WordPress. So any system that allows you to create, modify, delete, and all of those things referred to as a content management system, CMS. So even though the web has grown far, just like you get to this session on various approaches, content management systems have actually gone beyond just text and just slapping images on the website and life moves on. Things have become much more robust, and you get to know that further in this session. So, like I mentioned, so what's the difference between the bold website and the light print website? So the first thing you should know is the light print website. Sometimes they refer to it as a no-code approach, and just like the name says, no code. That means you are not writing any code. You're just dragging and dropping stuff in order to make things happen. So this is usually built with page builders and content management systems like WordPress, Webflow, or Wix. So you don't need to know what's going on behind the scene. You just need to drag your button, drag your image, and you have a website. The other one, the code approach, that is the website with the bold format. I say that it is built with sorrow, blood, and tears, and I mean it. And I refer to codes here. So you have to write the front end, you have to write the back end, you have to do some DevOps, you have to have edits or database, continuous integration, and all of these things. These are things that you still get to know as we go further down in the session. Also, for the no-code approach, I'm referring to this guy now. There's limits to the kind of website you can build, mainly in terms of functionality. And you can, so the other approach, you can build any kind of website you want, and I prefer to call this this kind of website product. So I'll give a very quick example here. So you probably know Piggyvest. If you are in 2020, you're a young person, you don't know Piggyvest. I don't know what you're doing with your life. I'm sorry if that sounds insulting, but it's just the truth.
Yes, we'll tell them.
Yeah, really. So Piggyvest is a product, and it's a product in the sense that it offers a unique solution. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So if you go to, let's say, Fort Canvas website, for example, fortcanvas.co, there are fortcanvas.co is not the first website in the world that will offer the kind of thing that fortcanvas.co is offering. There are a lot of other agencies in Nigeria that are literally the same structure. So instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, you use a content management system like WordPress, Webflow, or Wix. So, however, just like I mentioned, there's limits to the kind of things you can build. So, for example, fortcanvas.co, you cannot build a dashboard and start monitoring this one, start monitoring that one, start monitoring that one. You have to integrate codes into it in order to make things work. So the other thing about the no-code approach is that it has a relatively low learning curve. So in a month or so, in like 2 months maximum, you can learn how to use WordPress or Webflow very well, and you are good to go. The code approach, however, has a high learning curve, and I will take you through the roadmap in order to become in order to become, say, a full stack developer or to be able to build product.
Thank you, sir.
So, a quick example. I'll give you a very quick example on this last point now. In that, so I learned WordPress. I think it was 300 level. One of those holidays where stubborn boys like us will not go and we just stay in school. So I went to the school hostel. Then I think I was doing some. I think I was still picking up WordPress or so. One guy saw me and was like, guy, you are learning WordPress. One thing, I have resources. I went to the guy's hostel. The guy just bombarded me with tutorials, and that's what I did throughout that holiday for like a month or 2 months. And I stopped using WordPress because nobody was giving me any project to work on. Then the year that followed, that was 400 level. I went for internship at Fort Canvas, and one of my co-workers wanted to build a website and said he was going to use WordPress. Now, remember that this is over a year and I had not used this platform. And I was able to pick things up and build the website. I'm sure there is a witness, phrase, Pixelport. Pixelport is I actually launched that website in OAU. And I had used, like, I had not even used this platform in 10 months, but I was able to come back to it and use it and build what the person wants. That's to show the low learning curve. And what do you call it? So TNTFoods.com, for example, I said it took 6 months. And why did it take 6 months? Because there were so many things. There were too many things to learn. So, for example, there was a time when I had created like an MVP of the website, everything was working fine on my laptop. I deployed to the server, and it was not working. Then I have to go and learn. Okay, my code is not working on the server. What do I do? One article to the other, one article to the other before the website eventually worked. So those are like the major differences that I see between a no-code approach and a code approach. Each one has its own advantages and its own disadvantages, and I hope you have been able to see them from this comparison. So one of the questions people will still ask is, WordPress in 2020, really? Like, should you learn WordPress in 2020? So you do not necessarily have to learn how to use WordPress in 2020, to be honest. But having a skill or knowing how to use WordPress or Webflow, a no-code approach to building websites, is actually a tangible skill to have in 2020. I will be honest with you. And here's why. So, in the future, whether we like it or not, it's happening already. More websites will be built without touching a single line of code. That's just the truth. That's where we are going. And personally, I've been building websites, let's say professional, for about 4 to 5 years. I mean, when I mean professional, that is, build something, deploy, people interact with it, and what have you. And I have made more money building websites with WordPress than building websites from scratch. So what does that tell you? It means that there are certain kind of people who, like literally everybody, needs a website that you can get on the ground or like say a week or 2 weeks. Will you not start writing code for 6 months in order to deliver the website? You're wasting your time because they literally have even the same budget. So even if you like write heaven and earth, don't even use programming languages that they have invented on earth. Go and carry programming language from heaven and come and use to build the website. They'll still pay you that 50K, that 80K, or that 100K because the features that they need cannot expand beyond that. Now, the other thing is the no-code approach. This is a mistake. I would update before sharing this slide. That the no-code approach are getting better, and they can only get better. So there was a time that when you build a website with WordPress, for example, once you enter another website, you know that this website was used with WordPress. Why? Because everybody was using the same templates and they were just slapping content and changing theme. But on WordPress, for example, there is a page builder called Elementor. I personally use Elementor. Elementor gives you the flexibility to design your website exactly the way you want it, without having to restrict yourself to a theme or a template. And I will show you examples of websites that are built with using this no code approach, not necessarily Elementor. So let me share some of these websites with you, and before we get started, before we go on. So okay, yeah. So let's start with Fort Canvas website. Okay, yeah. So this Fort Canvas website, I don't know if you can see this website. This website was built with a content management system. No codes was used in building this website at all. And if you enter this website, honestly, I must say, except you are beefing also. This is a fantastic website. So for example, yeah, if you click this guy, you see the way this guy slides up and what have you. Absolutely no codes. That's that. The other one is okay, let me share another tab instead. Toolstock. Toolstock is by my friend Emmanuel. He's a graphic design trainee and what have you. This website was built with no codes, absolutely no codes. And this is another fantastic website built with no codes. So I don't want to dwell too much on that, but you can see that the world has gone beyond just slapping content on templates. People want flexibility in design, and no code approach is actually giving us that flexibility that we require. So if you are looking into venturing into web development, either now or in the future, if you decide to adopt the no-code approach, you will be missing out on nothing at all. So I'll switch back to my slide here. Yeah. So that's the first leg. I try to go straight to the point when I'm giving presentations these days. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, I would like to hear them. Or if you feel like I've even been saying nonsense since morning, so you can just unmute your mic, just ask your questions and drop your comments. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, good evening everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
Okay, I have a question. For example, all these social media, Instagram, Facebook, blah blah blah. I believe they started with codes.
Yeah.
But as time goes on, I see that the Facebook structure and design, everything has changed. Like, what are the things you think they use to advance the design and the swift interaction with
The
their
speed.
website? Yeah, the speed too.
Okay, cool. Okay. So, okay, is that all? Is that all your question?
For now, sir.
Okay, awesome. So, like I mentioned, so you said something that I would like to correct quickly. You said you believe they started with code. They did not just start with code, though. They are still writing code still now. Because if you go to Facebook website, you still see that they are hiring software engineers. So what are those software engineers to do? They are definitely not going there to sell Google and Apple. That one is sure. So they are still writing codes, and here is the reason those websites are getting better. So first and foremost, technology is getting better. There was a time where it was difficult for you to integrate videos into websites. I don't know if you get
Yeah,
what you call
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
I
true.
don't know if you get. So there was a time that we didn't have a technology that would enable you to support videos. There was
Videos.
a time that if you want to build a website from scratch, there is no way for you to optimize. So this is relatively advancement in technology, and knowledge has increased from what it used to be. And people are seeing more importance for design these days. So, for example, students took a session on UI UX. Now, most companies now pay attention to having product managers, user interface designers, Pixel, I said Pixel Plus, just left the meeting, user experience designers, and so on. So people, what do you call it? Companies, brands are more intentional about their their websites now. They know that, oh, if their website is not looking good, if the user experience is bad, people will go to that of a competitor. I don't know
Yeah,
if you know what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah.
Companies are investing more in design and the overall experience of users on their website. So that's what got better.
Okay,
That's what got better. So
okay.
and it's not like this knowledge has not been there over time. It's just that people are now beginning to see importance of this what do you call it? Importance of this of design in
Yeah.
development. So for example, there was a project we worked on at my office here at Fort Campus. It's for a fintech, and you know, one of the things we said when we were working on the project, even though I was not actively involved in the project because it was more of design, I do development of design, is design, good design has actually become a standard in the fintech space in Nigeria. So you go to Carrywise website, you see nice, awesome design. You go to Piggyverse website, you see nice, awesome design. So you cannot be coming out as a fintech and you want to compete with those guys and not have a good design. Will it work? Or possible? Or wrong? You get what I'm talking about? Sure you get.
No,
So
you
that
not
was
kill of it.
you
Okay.
said. So design. That's what I would say change.
S-
Design knowledge, design exposure has changed over time.
Okay. The second question, though, I'm still trying to
If I
think.
if I hold on. This session is supposed to be an hour, and I'm still supposed to be a coding session. So I'll take one question now. So what I would advise is that so that we don't spend too much time. So so somebody says that how can Owolabi Okoyemi says that how can one manage a non-code website? That's a very fantastic question. So I will start. So I have more experience with WordPress. I have little experience with Webflow. Those are the two no-code platforms that I'm interacting with. So here's what I do personally: is when I build a website for a client, I hand over the website to the client. In fact, it is of the greatest joy to me that I'm able to build something and somebody is actually able to interact with that platform and use it. And the beautiful thing about a platform like WordPress is, of course, you cannot give all permissions to the user to say, let's say, change your template and all of those things. There are plugins you can use. I can't remember anyone off end or off hand now. That there are plugins you can use to restrict access of the user to the kind of things you do. So you create an account for the person on the website. What I then do is create web guides. Say, oh, this is a blog, this is how you can upload articles. Oh, this is an agency, this is how you can upload case studies. Oh, you want to create new forms, this is how you can do it. So I do video recording of my screen and send to the client. They watch, and if they have any further questions, get back to me. And with my WordPress plugin, I'm able to restrict access to the kind of things they can do on the website, so that they don't break things up. They will not call you in the middle of the night and say their website is not working. I don't know if you hear what I'm saying.
Okay.
So Webflow also has the same feature that allows you to give restriction to the kind of things that clients can have access to. So they're only able to modify what you want to modify. Webflow is even crazier than WordPress. Like Webflow, the clients can go in there and change colors, change this one, change that one. WordPress can allow you to do that, but there's some restrictions. The clients might end up breaking a few things here and there. But if you use Webflow or WordPress, you are still able to achieve results in terms of management. So I don't know if there are any other questions before we move on.
I have a question.
If your question is to the end of this session, one question per person. I'll not say because you're organizer, you'll not be asking questions. So if there are no other questions, I think we'll just continue.
Okay.
Right? So if I just note your question and let's continue. So this roadmap, this is what I think is the roadmap to becoming a full stack developer. And I'll tell you the reason why I said I think it's the roadmap to becoming a full stack developer. So the first thing is front end.
Hey.
So in front end, so in the definition, I told you that front end is everything on the website that the user interacts with. Everything at all, every single thing that buttons, text, and all of those things. That's the front end. And these things I've listed here are what we can call the backbone of front end, or the things that help us to be able to achieve the front end of the website. The first thing is HTML, hypertext markup language, and in fact, I call it the body framework of a website, and I got that from the definition of skeleton given to us in biology. So because there is no website on earth that has no HTML, that's just the truth. The next thing is cascading style sheets, and it is used to add colors and format the overall layout of the website to make it appealing. So you enter a website, you see, oh, this one is standing on the image is standing on the right hand side, the text is standing on the left hand side, you slide up, this thing drops down, all of those things, all those layouts, we are achieving it with CSS. The next thing is JavaScript. JavaScript is what enables you to have interactivity with the website. Say for example, you are trying to submit a form and the form tells you, oh, this field is required, or makes that field into red. It is with JavaScript that you're able to achieve something like that. So if you're in the tech ecosystem, maybe you have exposure to tech ecosystem, or you interact with tech people, we tend to hear things like, oh, React, Vue, Angular, and all of those things. And these are simply JavaScript frameworks, which are intended to make your life easy by developing websites. So instead of having to scaffold and write things from scratch, these frameworks give you like pre-written codes, not pre-written codes. Okay, they are pre-written codes that will facilitate your development, that will hasten your development. So let me show you. So let me show you how all this is done. And a little disclaimer: you don't necessarily have to understand what is going on the screen. I just want to show you. Oh, this HTML we are talking about, this is what it looks like. This CSS we are talking about, this is what it looks like. This JavaScript we are talking about, this is what it looks like. Because the session says that web development is a big picture. So you are just here to see the picture, not the full thing. So I'll share my code editor with you now. I'll just get into it. So I'm hoping that this whole coding session should not take more than 5 to 10 minutes, so that we can get to talk about other more tangible things. Not that the code is not tangible too, but you won't become Mark Zuckerberg by just a 10 minutes coding session. That one is sure. So the window, I'll share my code editor with you. I don't know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Can you see this blue dark stuff? Anybody?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So I'll come over. So this, so
Visual Studio
okay.
Code.
So let me do this. Let me show you. Let me show you. So it does not appear like too much magic. Let me show you. Let me show you a little bit of behind the scene. So a window. Yeah, good. So this is a folder I have created. Let me show you. So this folder is titled Big Picture, and you can see that we have an image here, and also we have an image here. So what I did was I opened this folder in my code editor, which I will now share now. So presenting, stop presenting, then go back to the window, code editor, yeah, back Visual Studio Code. So this is what we have now. So the code editor that I use, or the IDE that I use, is called Visual Studio Code. It's like the most popular coding editor that people use these days. So to create an HTML file. So like I mentioned, there is no website in the world that does not have an HTML code. What does that mean? There must be a file that hosts those codes, and it's called HTML. So what I will do is come over here and create a new file and call it index.html. And also, kindly note that you can actually create an HTML file with anything. In fact, you can use something as simple as Notepad to write your HTML codes. So I'll come over here and say doc file, no, HTML. So okay, yeah, HTML file. So one of the advantages of using a code editor like Visual Studio Code is you see that without writing any codes, this thing automatically generates all these codes like automatically. And in fact, I don't have to write this. Though in early days, I always have to write this from scratch, and it was so boring and tiring. Now, these days, I don't even know how these guys, how they come together again. But I just go ahead and do it. So here's what I'll do. I'll change the title to web development, big picture. Web development, big picture. So I don't know if you can zoom in a bit. So all these angle brackets that you are seeing, this angle bracket and text. For example, this head, less than and greater than, they actually refer to them as tags. And there is an opening and a closing tag. So you can see that this head is opening at number 3 and it's closing here at number 7. The only difference is there's a forward slash here. Don't worry, by the time you venture into development fully, you decide to do, you understand this thing better. And here's what I will do. I'll create an heading here. This is created using an H1, and I'll call it. Let me look at that design. I want to check that design again. The design for the for the session. Give me a minute. I have to go back in time. So I want to see what the design looks like. Okay. So the big picture. So I would say. So let me switch back here. So I would say the big picture. Then I'll come over here and say web development. That's it. So I will run this guy now. So I will switch back to that folder. Let me just share my entire screen. I'm sorry if this is boring, but if you are considering doing web development in your life, this is a boring life. So I'm so sorry. So let me share my screen. So you should be seeing everything on my screen now. So can you see my screen now? Okay, I think you should. So now we have an index.html file, and we have a small.png file here also. So here's what I will do. I will come over here and double click this guy. I don't know if you can see my screen. Can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Can you see my screen? Can somebody just unmute and let me know if they can see my screen?
Yeah, we can. I can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see the big picture. You can see this thing that is showing in Chrome.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So those codes I wrote, this is the result, this HTML. You can see that it looks nothing like what I have here. It looks nothing like what I have here. You can see that it looks nothing like what I have here. So how can we achieve something like this or something close to this? So we'll get to that with CSS. So here's what I'm going to do. So in order to add styles to your website, you can just come in your head here. So this head, I can show you the other time. I can just create this R here. And here's what I would do. I'll create a div here. Don't worry, like I said, you don't need to understand what's going on, honestly speaking. I'll create a div here. And I would say, so I would say div. I would say div. So I'm selecting the div by writing this command. And I would say background is background color. Background color. Somebody is trying to join the session. Accept the person. Okay. Okay, you've accepted the person.
Yeah.
So good. So I want to get the color of this green. I want to get the color of this green. So
this is Illustrator. We find you.
You said this is Illustrator. Come and find me now. So I'll press the color here, and this is in Xcode. You can also use RGB if you like, or if you so desire. Then let me come over here and refresh. So you can see now that there is already a color here, right?
Yeah.
There's a color here, but it's not filling the screen. So here's what I will do. You will see that this thing is actually simple, at least the basics. So I'll say I think the width of that div should be 100%. Then I would say height should be 100 VH. That's VH stands for viewport height. That is what the user will be seeing when they land on the screen. So I'll come over here and refresh. You can see that it is filling the whole screen now. True or false? So remember that I'm doing this with what? With CSS. It is with CSS that I'm able to achieve this. So I can take this even further and do something like this and say background image. And say image is URL and I call this small.png. Then I would say that's the name of the image that is stored there. You can see that the image is showing here already, but it's too big. So I can do something and say background size. Background size and say, let's say contain. Let's say contain. Then I would refresh this guy, and you can see the image is already showing up, right?
But
if I don't want it to show up multiple times, I can come over here and say background. So you see, it's just going to show.
Oh my god!
I cannot say background repeats, no repeats. If I come over here, refresh, you can see it's only one of these that we have now.
Yeah.
Simple and straight to the point. Until you have to build tntfoods.com and you spend 6 months writing all these things.
But
so
can I ask?
So if I
can I ask a question?
You cannot ask any questions. Man. You cannot ask any questions. So the other thing you can do here is change the font. So I can say something like font family. Say Century Gothic. Let me see if Century Gothic work. Or say Century.
Yeah, they were. That's my phone.
That's my font. So that's like my official font. That's like my brand font. So it's our font. So you can see.
Okay, I agree.
So you can see that this is now Century Gothic. So there is no limit to what you can do. So in the original design which we have here, we can see that web development is actually is actually in color white. Web development is in color white. If you are accepting.
Yeah, I'm accepting. Don't worry, just continue.
So yeah. So web development is in color white. So if I come here and say color, I can set this to white. Come back here and refresh. As in you go refresh, die. Wafela, so refresh you. Then the H1, this big one, this is the big picture. The color is black. So I can come back to H1 here and say color. Black.
I've remembered.
This thing is something else.
It's just as if you are knitting something in patterns.
So
all of them have different attributes.
So it's like you are redesigning this thing, but you have to specifically tell the computer what to do in order to achieve it. So in your example, if you want to make this black, you just come, you open that your mouth, and now come here, and now open and just click on this one. Then
I will send you. I will send you.
and you just move on with life. But this one, you first have to write, come over here, then refresh before you can see it taking action. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Another thing you can do very quickly. So let's just do this so that at least the design looks close to what we have. So we cannot achieve. It will take more time to be able to achieve the original design.
Oh
you
my
can do
God.
something like font size here. And notice that I'm doing this just for the H1. Font size, let's see something like 6M. Then I will refresh this. Then the font size should be bigger.
6M.
Now I have this guy now. So
6cm.
that's what I'm doing for that now. So
6
let's
what?
talk about JavaScript now. Let's talk about JavaScript.
That's
So
6 what?
what I will do very
Wait. Let us screenshot this one.
6 what? Font size 6 what?
6M. So
6M.
yeah. So
There's something between 6 and M now. There is something between 6 and M. Okay, EM.
So EM is actually a unit in web development.
For
it's a
font?
relative unit.
Is it for font?
Yeah. No, it's not. It's basically majorly for fonts, though. Majorly for fonts.
Alright.
Majorly for fonts, yeah. So you can use it for size and all of those things, but where you'll be using it is majorly for fonts. So we have relative. So this is not supposed to be a master class, really. So let's just move on.
Another question. To start CSS, it means you start with open bracket, style, close bracket, ba?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
gotten.
this is just one of the ways you can start your CSS. There are other ways that you can actually. Drink water. I'm thirsty.
You can't.
Is this a never blow? You people should come and give me web design job, bro. I should not be drinking pure water.
Share your design for me.
I will design for you now. If you have 150k.
Before uncle.
So let's get back to it. So what I want to do now is, so in order to, in the mode of interactivity, so what I would do is, I would set, so when somebody clicks this big picture, I would alert them that, I will give them an alert message that, oh, you are seeing the big picture, or something like you are doing well. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. But in order to be able to do that, I will be using JavaScript. And the way to include JavaScript is just to do this guy script, then I would end. So if you notice something, you will notice that I started my style at the beginning of the document while I'm putting my script at the end of the document. So here's the reason. When your website loads, it loads from top to bottom. So you want at least the users to be able to see the beautiful layout of the website first. Then the script, that is the interactivity, can then load after that, after you have seen. Because you will not click a button unless you are seeing that this button is fine or this button is doing well. I don't know if you get what I'm talking about. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So here's what I will do. I'll add an attribute to this picture, and I'll say the picture. This will allow me to be able to interact with it. So here's what I will do. I would say, you don't need to understand what's going on. I'll just say big picture equals document dot query selector that's hash big picture. So then I would say big picture dot add event listener. When the user clicks on it, runs its function that pops an alert and says you are doing well. I'm doing well.
You are not doing well.
Then I will just add false here.
You are not doing well. You are not doing well, sir, because we can't understand.
You need to understand. I just want to show you how this thing works. So if I click on this guy now, you can see this alert that says you are doing well. Can you see it?
When you click on which guys are?
If you click,
Okay.
this is the big picture.
Okay.
Nothing is happening. I'm clicking. But if I click here now, it says you are doing well. Do you understand?
I get it. I get it.
So so basically, so all of these things are the things that you would do. So let me open TNTFoods.com for you. So these are the things that you would do in order to make your website come together. So you write the HTML, which is the framework. Remember, let me quickly comment this out and show you where we are coming from, so that see where we are coming from. Do you remember? This is where we are coming from, and with just about 10 lines of code, if I come back here, we've gotten something as beautiful as this. So, and this is your style sheet. You click here, your interactivity. Let me show you something here. So, for example, this website, if you click on these guys, you can see the way it's changing. You can see the way it's changing, the way it's changing, the way it's changing. You already know what is doing this job. Can somebody answer?
You said?
JavaScript.
JavaScript. You mean? Boys am I teaching? What do you do? I shall know boys now. So it's JavaScript that is doing the job. So I guess I can stop. So I guess I can stop sharing my screen now. So you get the whole idea now. When they say front end, you know what a front end person is supposed to do. You are supposed to write HTML, you are supposed to write CSS, and you are supposed to write JavaScript in order to make things come alive. So we are behind time, and so I will stop sharing now, then I will go back to my presentation. So a window, then I will share the illustrator.
Can question be coming?
Questions cannot come in until after the session. I'm very sorry.
It's almost 6 already now.
Calm down. I'm almost done. So that's why I need to finish, because there are still a few things to talk about. So that's front end. You get an idea of how front end works. So I did not use any framework, because using a framework too far would take too much time, especially for a session like this. And the other thing is, I actually didn't need a framework. You will need a framework when you are working on more robust applications. This is just a simple example. I don't need a framework. So I've showed you. Now let's talk about backend. So like I mentioned, backend is just everything that goes on behind the scene that you cannot see.
So all those coding is front end.
Yes, all those coding are front end.
Oh my God.
So for example, let me show you. Calm down. Let me explain to you. So for example, when I typed the big picture into my code editor, I went to my browser. I saw that text that I wrote. True or false?
True.
Yes, true.
When I added the style sheet and I said color, let the background color be green, I saw that green. True or false?
True.
True.
When I said when somebody clicks a button, let this button show alert, I saw that button showing alert. True or false?
True.
True.
So now for backend, the code that you are writing for backend, you cannot see the effect immediately on the client side. Do you get it now?
Okay.
So for example, somebody's name is stored on the server. You will not see that server. You will not see the way the server, the website is connected to the server, getting the image and everything. But this one, when you click a button, immediately a button will alert you. There's the difference between backend and front. So backend, unlike front end, for example, front end, I say HTML and CSS is a must. But for backend, just a function of you choosing what you want to use. And the programming languages we have for backend include PHP, Node.js, Python, Go. PHP, I personally use PHP, Node.js, JavaScript. I know somebody here who uses Node.js, the guy that spoke, the guy that should share us all money. If you see that guy on the should beat him. So he uses Node.js. There is Python. There is also Go. Go is like a relatively new backend language, and I think it's getting popular. So we also have frameworks. So in case I've not defined it, frameworks are just built to make life easy for you. So we have Laravel for PHP, and we have Expert. Maybe I'm wrong, correct me. I say nonsense. Two of us I am disgracing. So Django, Python. And also we have databases also. We have MySQL, we have SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language. And the most popular one is MySQL. And we also have NoSQL, and the most popular one is MongoDB. So the difference between SQL and NoSQL is this: is if you've seen Excel before, an SQL database actually groups data in rows and columns. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. And you can also create relationships between them. But not SQL. There is no row and columns. It's just a file you are interacting with. In more advanced language, they call it JSON. JSON. JavaScript Object Notation. That's something else entirely that cannot be covered in this section. So other things you should know really. So hosting. Hosting, like I mentioned, is where you put your files and everything, and that continuous process. And what I think you should know is this: there are various hosting options. So, for example, if you build a website with Laravel or Express or Django, you cannot go and host it on Google. Only work, it will end in tiers, premium tiers. So, you should also be aware of various hosting options. We have DigitalOcean, there's Google Cloud Platform, there's Amazon Web Services, amongst others. And really, these things are not as blowing busting as you think. The other thing is version control. What version control allows you to do is it allows you to go back in time. You know, for example, now if you are working in Photoshop, and you make a mistake, you can press Ctrl Z. Unfortunately, when you are writing code, let's assume that you want to go back to something you did like a month or 2 months ago. You cannot just press Ctrl Z and you go back there. But version control allows you to be able to create branches, create snapshots of your program that you can always refer to, either now or in the future. The next thing is continuous integration and delivery. Continuous integration and delivery simply allows you, it's like a DevOps, development operations, system that allows various developers. I am Aremu Smallgo. Let's say I'm working with Amazon, the man in Jesus' name, and Amazon is working on a new platform, and I'm working from Nigeria. How will somebody working from San Francisco, how are we going to be able to work together? Because I will be pushing my codes to the source code. That person will be pushing their code to the source code. So there must be a system in place in order to be able to integrate all these codes together and ensure that there is no conflict, such that you not go to the website and things are confusing and things are not working the way they should. The next thing is continuous delivery, such that as I'm making changes on my laptop. So, for example, this thing I just did now, this little workshop we just did now, just sitting on my laptop, nobody has access to it. So imagine I've deployed it to a server and I need to make changes. It will not automatically go to the server. But if I have a continuous delivery system in place, once I'm done, I just press something like git push, it just pushes those codes to the live server. So those are other things that I think you should know as a web developer. Tell the truth, the learning never ends. There will be new frameworks, not just Bitterfield. I started coding 5 years ago. I used to use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, and the likes. Now, there is React, there is Vue, there is Angular, and all of those things. If I don't learn all of those things, it means that I should prepare to lose my job as a web developer. But what does that tell me? It tells me that the learning never ends. The learning never really ends. And you can read the story of how I actually spent 6 months building a 3-page website. If you go to this website, webboss.com.ng, web-boss.com.ng/blog, you'll be able to read that story there. So you see how this thing works. And here are my thoughts on becoming a web developer. Here's the truth, let's be honest here. Is the no-code approach will get better and better. What that means is the people who can use them will also be much more. Will you then be able to charge more? Are you getting what I'm saying? So if I can use Webflow, if somebody wants to build a website and he approaches me and I'm saying 100k, the person goes to Ife says 80k, goes to 20 says 70k, goes to, you can see that the value is dropping. But what will enable you to be able to make money in that sense is your ability to sell yourself. So beyond the skills, your ability to sell yourself is actually very, very important. I used to work with a client. Whenever I tell her, man, this budget will cost 100k, she'll just divide that value by 2 and tell me that that's her budget. I'm just until last year, I realized
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I said I used to work with a client that anytime I tell her, so if she comes to me and says she wants to do the website, I tell her, man, this website will cost 80k. She will just divide that 80k by 2 and tell me that's her budget. That's 40k. I'm
Mad.
let me tell you, say, no problem. All right, let's work with this. Until last year, I read How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I discovered that, wow, I'm actually shortchanging myself.
Yes,
So
sir.
that I should come. So last project I worked on with her, she said, she wants a website. I said, this website will cost, I think, 100k or 120k. Then she said, as usual, she divided it by 2. I'm like, man. And you know the funny thing is, she had actually shared some websites with me which I had done. So I'm like, man, if you want something of quality, you will have to consider adjusting that your budget too. This time around, this will not work. And like magic, you said, okay, no problem. So it was not about me being able to use WordPress. It was about me being able to negotiate. That's how I was able to make money.
Please always present it.
That's how moving forward. So the other thing is, when you're from scratch or using a no-code approach, much takes years. I'll give an example here. So all these websites that I say I'm doing in 6 hours, it's not magical. Not like ideally that's what it will take. But because I know what to do when I'm doing that, when I'm working on the website, I'm able to move fast. And that's knowledge of 3, 4, 5 years down the line. And I'm still learning more. And one of the things that inspired me is there was this guy that does a lot of tutorials on Webflow. He says that he built websites for clients in like 3, 4 hours and he charges like $25,000 and more. I'm like, even if in Nigeria nobody's paying me $25,000, even if you can pay me 50k to get the website up and running in 6 hours, it's still an achievement somewhere here in Nigeria. I don't know what I'm saying. So that's what we has. And I put here that code is poetry. And this is what we see at the footer of WordPress website. And honestly, that's just the truth. Code is poetry though, when you know what you are doing. When you don't know what you are doing, code is not poetry, or anything. That's just the truth. So one of the thoughts I have on becoming a web developer, I said web developer. Hold on, Shan. I have to update this slide before sharing is that you can't be richer than the system that pays you. And here's what I mean. So for example now, Mark Zuckerberg owns Facebook. If Mark Zuckerberg is working in an agency, let's say they are even paying him $1 million per year. Let's say they are paying $1 million per year. Mark Zuckerberg is what these days. So you learn how to build websites and boom, you just work in an agency. Congratulations, that's awesome. But the way me I'm saying things is that with respect to the way no-code approaches are getting better, web developers will become like laborers. I've been saying this thing and I've been saying this thing. If somebody wants to come and lay the foundation of the house, or if you want to build a house, who are the people that gets all the money? The architects, probably the surveyor, the builder, and everything. The building software, how much do you pay them per day? 1.5 or 2k, and that's all they get. That's really what the role of web developers might become in the future. But if you can think of ways to build unique problems, I say unique problems. Imagine I'll build unique problems. So if you are looking for
it can be creative now.
and bring in unique solutions, then you would be creating a system that pays people. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. There's something that Prosper Otenwiyiwa said is one of the big software engineers in Nigeria that I so respect so much, and I hope to work with one day. He says that if you want to become a mid-level engineer or a senior level engineer, do what those people are doing. So, as a mid-level engineer, what is a mid-level software engineer doing? Probably building packages, working in open source, building things that are useful for other people. If you are not able to do those things, you cannot really call yourself a mid-level or a senior engineer, because who are you serving and how much knowledge do you have? Because these are the things that will push you to research more and do stuff. And the other thing is, every project is a chance for you to prove yourself and pay attention to what other people are doing. Don't go to somebody's website and say, the HTML, it's not on base CSS, either you want to put background yellow website in my you need to pay close attention to how things are being done. Don't tembel something. And on the fact that every project is a chance to prove yourself is when I worked on tntfoods.com, like most probably are like, budget for this website site is low and all of this thing, and all of this thing. But somehow I would say I know what I am doing because the website gave me gave me the chance to explore things that I might never have explored in my life, say as a web developer. And you know the interesting thing is, after the project, I got another after the project, somebody reached out to me from referral of the client and said, he wants to work on my website. I was so busy that time. I'm like, I'm sorry, sir, I'm not able to work on this website. Maybe you should get another developer. I said, no, you are the one that wants to work on this project because they are seeing what I have done, you know what I can do, and he wants me to work on that project. So every project is actually a chance for you to prove yourself. And the interesting thing is that even though TNT Foods took me 6 months, this project cannot take me more than a month, and I'm charging more, like 2.5 more than what I charged for TNTFoods.com. So if you are proving yourself, you're increasing your competence, and you can get paid more. I don't have money, you know, somebody should not come and beat me because that's what I'm saying 2.5 more and everything.
Yeah, you're in trouble already.
So the next question is, should designers make code? Here's my answer. Honestly, the answer is absolutely no. Because it's like asking a pharmacist to learn surgery. What is the job of a pharmacist? A pharmacist is supposed to administer drugs, or a pharmacist sell drugs. So it's not their job. If they decide to go and learn surgery, fine, that's their own problem. They are interested in knowing surgery, but it is not necessary. So the same is for developers and designers. Even though they appear to be in the same space, designers do not necessarily have to learn how to code. And the reason over time why people have been asking the question is, should designers learn how to code, is due to the incompetence of so many developers. And it's not even incompetence, there are so many factors. Some of it will include budget, it will include the experience of the developer, amongst other things. Let me give you one last case study. So when I was working on tntfoods.com, like I told you, I was learning, but still I wanted the website to go out as soon as possible. So I was just downloading packages, and the website became so heavy, but I had to deploy. The truth is, if the client had asked me at that time, said, Smog, how can this website be slower? I would tell them, no, there is no way this website can be faster. Like, especially fast in one. That's because there was so much pressure in getting the website out at that point in time. Now, when I was done with the website and deployed, I started back, I'm like, but the package so necessary. Unnecessary, oh boy. So I removed those packages and I actually wrote my own code from scratch. Those packages, about 4 packages to achieve these 2 things, and 20 lines of code that I wrote myself actually got that thing, which
dramatically or drastically,
God bless you, dramatically helped to improve the speed of the website. So there are so many factors as to why your developers will say no. It takes intuition from the side of a designer to be able to understand all of these factors. And the truth is, many times designers tend to create unrealistic designs that cannot be implemented, web-wise. So when you design something like that, the developer will say, sure, you're not going to learn how to code like this. He's not necessarily saying go and learn how to code. He just wants you to see things from the perspective at which he's seeing it. So that's why it's very important that if you are working on any design, if you are working on, let's say, a UI or a whatever project, have conversations with your developer so that he can put you through on how things will go. So for example, I've worked with designers that they don't even know that they are UI designers, so professionals. They don't even know that a website uses 12 grid column. And somebody will just come and control layouts.
Seriously?
It's not their fault. Because even though they are designers, but they are not seeing where this technology is supposed to work. So you tell me that kind of design, they are giving me so much trouble. And what I will tell you, because you are not taking the intuition to involve me, the design process is that this design is not possible. So why I believe that no design is actually impossible to implement, but there are some certain standards that we follow in order to achieve things we want. Thank you. My name is Aremu Small. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Aremu_Small, and I will take any other questions now.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Well,
So,
my first
Amen.
is that question now?
Calm down. You ask question, you ask question.
But
But I would like
time
somebody
has
else to
really
ask
gone.
more questions. Time has already gone.
Yeah, let other people ask questions. Maybe we'll continue on the group.
Yeah. So please, please kindly ask. Please, if you have any questions. Okay. So I know time is gone, but I don't like having people on a call like this and everybody will just be silent and everything. So I will call people's name, you will unmute your mic and say just one thing that you have learned from this session. So that I will know that I've not wasted my time. Busala Adeshino, what have you learned on this session so far?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm so sorry. I joined late around 5:48, but so I could not
Okay.
pick much. If I picked anything, I would not understand. But I had this I had about CSS, HTML, and
Yeah.
coding and all of that. So though I don't really know what they mean because I came late. Why
Yeah.
I didn't hear that. I was able to hear you talk about billing your clients and trying to quality of your job, that and how you would your client would slash money into two, and
Yeah.
how you enlightened and you decide to start paying out because you would not argue with her. But now you knew how much you should bill her and you billed her the next time she came around. And
Awesome.
that.
That was awesome. If you how are you? How far? I learned time because what have you learned in this session so
Okay.
far?
Good evening. Good
Question.
evening. I've been quite in love with. I've been actually attracted by all these UI UX web development for a very long time now. And when I started,
Yeah.
I was really glad to have
Okay.
joined. And yeah, so far I've seen some things that you discussed today. Yeah, I've been reading
Yeah.
around them for a very long time right now. The front end and the back end. What
Yeah.
you see at the surface and what goes in the
Yeah.
background. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen you guys actually talk about the content management system, and
Yeah.
you talk about the business part of the web design as well.
Yeah.
How there's need for negotiation to be in place, and
Yeah.
also how developers need to actually collaborate with designers
Why
as
not?
well.
Yeah.
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 Exactly. So it's very, very vital and important for us to achieve that common goal. Yeah, a project is meant to achieve. So that's
Yeah.
what I actually gained in this particular meeting. I'm really, really glad to have joined. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for
Yeah.
giving all the.
Thanks a lot for coming around. Iniolua,
Yes.
you na boss, oh. You don't learn anything for this session now. Yeah, sharp. Give us some wisdom. Okay.
Good
Good
evening. Uh,
evening.
I thank you for the training. Yes, it was just more like a constant reminder for me anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so the only contribution I'll actually make is when you said create a unique problem. Hello.
Yeah, I'm with you,
Okay.
Winnie.
Okay, so when you say create a unique problem, yes, and yeah, you're actually talking about. Okay,
Yeah.
this is what I want to say.
Okay.
Every framework that you see out there, they are all unique problems, and because when you see Vue come out today and you jump out to Vue, it brings its own problem. You see this framework React come out, it comes with its own problem. You see this
Yeah.
one come out, it comes with its own problem. So fine, they are providing solutions for you, but they are bringing problems to other people's lives. So as much as possible, so even if you are finding solutions, know that you are bringing problem alongside with it.
True. True. True.
Yeah.
Very true. Because now people become lazy. Like you want to buy food, you just order from Junior Foods or something.
Fast
You
food.
can't even check
Yeah.
out and all of those things. So unique problems can also, I mean, unique solutions can also come with their own unique problem. And somebody will now have to solve that unique problem too. But that's not now your own problem. But because you have solved the problem, you have come to this world to solve. So either ways, everybody should look for a unique problem to
So
solve. So if it brings a problem, somebody else will come and solve that problem, and we move on. Oluwatoyin, what have you learned in the session so far? Hello,
I think she's not alive.
Oluwatoyin, are you still on this call?
Oops.
Wow. Owolabi Opeyemi, what have you learned in the session so far? Wait, hope my network does not have issue, and I'm the only one on this call. This one that people are not muting their mic.
We have we've muted our mics.
No,
Maybe
like,
maybe their own network is bad, and everybody's not.
okay.
Maybe their own network
That's
is
good.
bad.
So,
Yeah, I think so. Cause Owolabi Opeyemi just left now. Probably the
So,
network is not good.
So, Ebenezer, anything you've learned so far or any question? If you are the one talking last, we'll show you.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, oh.
Amen.
I'm very glad to be listening to this. This is just skeletal knowledge for me about web design or web development. Because it's something I love, but I don't know how I'm going to venture into it. First thing, I just learned little about front end, back end. But one of the major things I dropped down and I've written down is that one of the things is that every project is a chance for you to prove yourself. This is not. I say one of the major things I just noted down is that every project is a chance for you to prove yourself. This is not just for web development, it's just for any other work you do. And this is one of the things that I do, and it will continue moving in my head. But one of the things I want to do after this class is that I would like to know more about web development because I would like to venture into it. And I feel seriously good.
Okay.
So I need your guys like you and Ifeoluwa around that can also help that and come up to whenever I'm stuck. So you understand, that's what I have to say.
But that's okay. So for me, you can always reach out to me, and I can always share resources with you as to learning and what have you.
You said?
So, I said, with respect to learning, you can always reach out to me. I can always share resources with you that you can help you to get started. So, Akoyemi is back. Akoyemi, can you share what you've learned in this session so far? Can you share what you've learned with us in this session so far? It seems your network, you are going on and coming back.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, I learned a lot. I learned about the scripts, the style, and the non-coding and coding platform. Well, the coding is kind of little tricky. Because, well, it was actually cool, and the business of this thing too, the way you charge your customer and the way you deal to your customer also. So I really learned a lot of the website. Thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks a lot, Akoy. Yeah. Tony, are you still on this call? If you are still on this call, can you please unmute and share what you've learned so far with us before if they ask this question and wrap up this session? Okay, if I ask a question, let's move on.
Okay. Since question number one.
Question number one.
Okay. I want to know the Tafu site, that food of a thin site you did for 6 months.
Yeah.
Is it that the clients specifically mentioned that you use code, or you just feel like using code to build it from scratch?
My dear, nobody feels like writing code. Sure, you think say Dangote likes cement, now why they sell cement? It's because it's code that can do it. You can't build something like that from scratch. That's the truth.
Okay,
Because
so
most of the features on that website are custom. There are things that you can't find on any other website. So, for example, that food thing I was showing you, that when you click something, it changes.
Yeah, it changes.
Change it. You can't find it anywhere else. So you just have to build it. That kind of thing.
So it can be done on Wordflow, WordPress.
You can't. No.
Wow, amazing.
So the thing is, even if you do it in Webflow or WordPress, you will still have to write code.
Okay, yeah. In addition with whatever you've done, Abby. Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually possible. But for me, for projects like this, I want full flexibility and control over the whole thing.
Okay.
And this project is, the designer I work with is actually a designer, like he's a top designer in Nigeria. You can just wake up tomorrow morning and you'll be like, I want to add this new feature. Sure, you get that kind of thing.
The person you work with is a what? Is a what?
I said he's one of the top designers in Nigeria.
Okay.
So he can just like there are lots of iterations. There were a lot of iterations. So there was one time, like the payment before, when you want to pay online, it will take you to another page. Then he said he does not want it. He does not want another page. He wants everything to happen on the same page.
On the same page.
You
Wow.
cannot achieve that with WordPress.
Wow.
Sure you get. So
That's serious. Okay. Second question. Between I just like to ask and just know.
okay.
The security of website nowadays, I think with hackers and everything around, which ways of building websites would you advise these web developers to go into? Is it using all these Webflow or WordPress, or writing the code?
So security wise,
Yeah.
one thing you should know is security is only in the hands of God. There is no perfectly secure system in the world. If people can hack the Pentagon, people hack Google, people hack Facebook, then what are you securing, my brother? The security is in the hands of God. So here's the thing: if you are using a platform like WordPress, there are security plugins that you have to pay for, and you have to continuously update. And one thing is this: me, like when before I begin to bother myself so much about security, I look at the client base, I look at their profile, I look at somebody that is paying what you call it, let's say 100k for a website, cannot afford to pay 100k for security. It's just the truth. The people that will even come to the website, maybe throughout till the website we had and everything, might not even be up to 1,000. I don't know if you get.
Yeah.
So minimal security mitigations can still be put in place in order to afford to avoid, let's say, small boys that are just learning how to hack to gain access to your system. So
Okay.
and another thing is about building from. That's why there are frameworks like Laravel, Express, and Django. They have taken the most popular security issues that you would have when building your website. They have put them into consideration while building the framework, so that by the time you are building your website, you are focused more on the business logic rather than everything happening behind the scene. So, for example, now I started using Laravel earlier this year, and before I used to write my SQL from scratch. There is ORM, Object Relational Mapper, ABI model, or whatever they call it. Like, I don't need to know how you are writing, how I'm writing SQL, or how the SQL is going on behind the scene. What that matters to me is that I'm collecting data from the database, and it is via a secured format. So the same security specifications I would have put in place using my PHP and my SQL, Laravel already put it in place for me. So when you are building from scratch, use frameworks. If you are using no-code approach like WordPress, ensure you get security plugins. Of course, like I said, it's still dependent on the clients and the kind of people they would get. Another important thing is to always back up, no matter what the situation is. When you're using a platform like Webflow actually puts all the security in place for you because you are not installing plugins on Webflow.
Okay. So definitely the okay. I think the others will be asking
So
it on the group.
so the thing is this: security wise, everybody gets its own problem. Just look for one, romance it, and enjoy your life with it. So
Eh,
pick one approach, romance it, and like I said, there's nothing bad in knowing better. So for me, I know how to code from scratch, but I know how to code from scratch. I can use WordPress. I have an idea of web code, and I also design. You know the advantage of that is this: if I'm using WordPress and I have issues and I need to write code, my coding knowledge I will use it to write the code that I need to achieve.
inside WordPress
Inside WordPress, yeah.
soft.
If somebody sends me design, I'm looking at that design from the perspective of a designer, even though I am developing. I don't know if you get. So
Yeah.
even though you decide to go for one, there's nothing bad in knowing the other. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because really, I'm like I said, like I made more money with WordPress than building from. I made more money
Okay.
with WordPress than building from. So I've made more money with WordPress than building from scratch. But what does that tell you? It means that if you know WordPress, you are not missing out on you're not missing out on anything. And many of the codes that I write in order to be able to achieve my functionalities with WordPress, if you go online, you'll probably even see these codes that somebody has written. That you can copy and paste. The only thing is just you might not understand what you are copying
And pasting.
and that's different.
Oops. All right. What else? I can see most of our social media now. They're having this dark and light theme of a thing, like Facebook. You see where you can change it to dark, Twitter, stuff like that. How do you think they come about that innovation? I think it happened maybe recent this year or last year.
I think it's something that caught wave late last year, but it has always been around. That's just the truth. I've seen applications that were using light mode and dark mode before now. And the simple reason is, so it's actually not a big innovation per se. It's just simple CSS. It's not a function of saying, oh, when I change this button, with my JavaScript, I'll say when I change this button, change the color of the background to black and make sure that every other color is something that fits in on the other way around. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's not much of an innovation. It's something that has always been there, but people are not tapped into it. And the major reason I think people are using that is because of people are getting to have a lot of eye issues. So if you are looking at something in the night, you have the option of actually dimming the brightness by switching to dark mode in order to get in order to help your eyes and all.
Wow, I've really learned a lot. If I start to mentioning them, it may take another 30 minutes. So
you cannot mention what you've learned now with all these questions. All these questions are the things you've learned.
So thank you all for coming to this platform to learn, and also
let me introduce you. This is my session. So let me introduce you. So so Ife is actually the one that put all this together. He's the founder. I'll call him founder of Creators and Creations, which is the platform that brings us all together. So this session has been on for about a month now, and today is the last day, and we hope to do more things in the future.
Amen.
So Ife, you can take over the microphone.
Hallelujah.
all right. So thank you all. I believe most of us have the link already to the WhatsApp group in case we.
No, you can still drop it in the chat section.
Okay.
Drop it now, like now.
Let me sharply do that.
Why you are trying to drop it? Let me give you some music from Papa $11. That's what I've been listening to always.
It's your life.
When I came in, when I joined the chat, I was like, this guy should have done of music.
He's even listening to boring songs. a local web developer.
Oh my.
Yeah,
mi lẹ̀ síta ó lè ṣe oníṣẹ́ lọ ó padà wálé o ọ̀la yìí
Woman.
mi lẹ̀ síta ó lè ṣe oníṣẹ́ lọ ọ̀la yìí ní kọ́bọ̀ lápò ìyàwó ọkọ̀rọ̀ mi dá ó torí owó.
Hello. The music so loud now.
ọkọ̀rọ̀ mi dá ó torí owó.
I think we are doing a radio program.
Well, it's just that I did instrumental.
I think they bring inspiration with that.
Oh yeah, now bring the music down.
ọkọ̀rọ̀ mi dá ó torí owó.
No, we're not going to play that.
Okay.
I think that's the end of the session.
Yeah. Thank you all. Ife Awowoye, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So glad to join.
Owolabi Okoyemi, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Oluwatoyin Aromokeye, thank you very much.
Aromokeye.
Bosola Adeshino, thank you very much. Aremolu Agbamila, I'm seeing you twice here. Thank you very much. Ajiboye Ebenezer, thank you very much. And others too that they've left, we thank them in absentia. So please let us continue the interaction on the WhatsApp platform. I think there is even more hotter than our online this thing. But as time goes on,
Yes, so
I believe there will be more to do together. Thank you very much.
of course. Peace out.
Peace
Thanks so
out.
much.
Okay, let me show myself now.
Mama. Thank you all.
Yo,
Okay, boss.
yo, what? Me, I'm leaving the meeting, oh. So, if you just go behind, you see puff puff, you can pick some puff puff and some small chops. Pac-Man. No, that's the little thing we have for you. So just help us to manage.
God forgive you.
Why people are leaving as the presenter? Just give us the music. Just give us the music.
Mamila,
And do the music.
Why people are
Mamila,
leaving?
you can come up with that though. If you can be sharing popcorn, popcorn online.
Popcorn online. Oh.
Seriously, we beat Zoom, we beat Google Meet, all these online, this we beat them. If you can do that, I'm ready to partner with you.
ó fi mí lẹ̀ síta.
Okay, thank you.
padà wálé o.